His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa yesterday met with His Majesty King Charles III of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland at Windsor Castle as part of his visit to the United Kingdom. Upon arriving at Windsor Castle in the royal carriage, His Majesty the King was received by His Majesty King Charles III. His Majesty the King was accorded an official reception ceremony where the band played the Bahraini royal anthem. Their Majesties then inspected the Guard of Honor who lined up to greet them. His Majesty presented the 2024 Royal Windsor Horse Show Awards to the Best Regiment from the Royal Cavalry and the Best Artillery Team from the King's Royal Horse Artillery. Then their Majesties proceeded to the private library at Windsor Castle for an audience. His Majesty King Charles welcomed His Majesty the King, noting the strength and distinction of Bahraini-British relations. Their Majesties discussed the long-standing and close ties between the two royal families and means to advance the strong and historic relations between the two countries, focusing on enhancing cooperation. His Majesty expressed gratitude to His Majesty King Charles for the warm welcome and acknowledged his role in fostering strong ties with Bahrain for the benefit of both nations. His Majesty wished King Charles good health and success to lead the UK towards further progress. He also praised the historical relations and strong partnership between the two countries, extending for over 200 years, that are rooted in solid foundations. His Majesty expressed aspirations to strengthen this strategic relationship and expanding cooperation to achieve shared interests. Their Majesties discussed regional and international issues, including the developments in the Middle East. His Majesty commended the UK's influential role on the international stage and its active efforts to promote regional and global peace and stability. For his part, His Majesty King Charles expressed appreciation to His Majesty the King for his keenness to advancing the historic relations between the two kingdoms. Within the framework of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa's visit to the UK, His Majesty the King was honoured by His Majesty King Charles III with the Royal Victorian Order, which is one of the highest honours bestowed by King Charles in a ceremony at Windsor Castle. On this occasion, His Majesty the King expressed sincere gratitude and appreciation to His Majesty King Charles III, wishing him good health and happiness and continued progress and prosperity for the UK and its people. His Majesty the King also highlighted the deep-rooted historical relations between the two kingdoms, which are based on solid principles of mutual understanding and cooperation. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa attended the dinner banquet hosted by His Majesty King Charles III of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland in honour of His Majesty the King as part of his visit to the UK.
His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa attended the dinner banquet hosted by His Majesty King Charles III of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and Head of the Commonwealth in honour of His Majesty the King as part of his visit to the United Kingdom. During the dinner banquet, His Majesty the King delivered a speech on the occasion in which His Majesty praised the strong and deep-rooted friendship between the Kingdom of Bahrain and the United Kingdom, which spans more than 2 centuries. Your Majesty, dear friends, thank you, Your Majesty, for the gracious invitation to dinner tonight. Your personal touches and generous gesture is warmly appreciated by myself, my family, and my beloved Bahrainis. The Kingdom of Bahrain and the United Kingdom share a strong and deep-rooted friendship stretching back over 2 centuries. This close relationship has assisted us in building our own unique Bahraini model in the areas of education, health, banking and investment, security and justice. We are, after all, 2 island nations who have coexisted on trade, openness and engagement. And the close attachment between our nations is exemplified by the strong ties we have with Your Majesty and your family. This enduring relationship gives us confidence, assurance, and somebody to turn to if support is required. We believe that Your Majesty has our best interest at heart. A relevant example of this relationship is our cooperation in defense. This is not a new alignment. Next year commemorates the 80th anniversary of the ending of World War II. Bahrain stood side by side with allies in the conflict and contributed 10 Spitfires to the Desert Air Force. Furthermore, we were the only Arab nation to allow access to an oil refinery. Today, this military and strategic cooperation continues at all levels. The physical embodiment of this is the UK Royal Navy Support Facility, which we were pleased to welcome back to the Kingdom of Bahrain east of Suez. This year, the base will celebrate its 10th anniversary. Your Majesty, I hope that you will indulge me while I touch on the rich legacy and outstanding life of your dear mother. Her late Majesty's dedication, warmth, and service was an inspiration to us all. I have often reflected on the genuine friendship she extended to me and will remember our shared interest in horses. I feel privileged and honored to have known the late Queen, and may I say, your mother's long and rich life lives on through your Majesty's diligent work and sense of selfless commitment. Your Majesty has the same values and personal attributes that I greatly admire. We have so much in common, including our strongly held beliefs in religious inclusivity and tolerance for all faiths. Thank you once again for this wonderful evening, which has brought together many dear friends in such a welcoming and warm atmosphere. Your thoughtfulness is hugely appreciated, and we will leave here tonight with friendships and alliances reaffirmed. It would be a huge honor if your Majesty allowed me to repay your hospitality. We would be delighted to welcome you to the Kingdom of Bahrain in the near future. Thank you. During the dinner banquet, His Majesty King Charles III delivered a speech in which he welcomed His Majesty the King and his visit to the United Kingdom. He praised the strong relations between the Kingdom of Bahrain and the United Kingdom and the two royal families, and congratulated His Majesty the King on the silver jubilee of His Majesty's accession to the throne. In his speech, His Majesty King Charles III highlighted the achievements of His Majesty the King over the past 25 years, as well as the development of the long-standing friendship between the two countries. He referred to the important historical milestones of the Kingdom of Bahrain under the leadership of His Majesty the King, noting that since the beginning of his reign, His Majesty the King has established his vision for the National Action Charter, which received wide support for its comprehensive national concepts and principles to the pardoning and rehabilitation achieved for thousands of country's people, which he considered as an embodiment of His Majesty the King's approach to leadership and his heartfelt concern for the people of the Kingdom of Bahrain, with national unity as the goal for which all of His Majesty's initiatives and efforts emanate. His Majesty King Charles III praised the Kingdom of Bahrain for its hospitality and welcoming spirit that welcomes everyone, including the British community residing in Bahrain. In this context, His Majesty King Charles III noted that Bahrain's presidency of the Arab League this year reflected the extent of interest and care for the affairs of the peoples of the region within the framework of efforts to achieve peace. His Majesty King Charles III expressed his pride in the fact that he and His Majesty the King are companions of the path, who have shared common interests and efforts over the years on a number of issues, including preserving heritage, developing human potential, advancing future generations, creating new and sustainable cities that retain their identity, deepening understanding and communication between different religions and beliefs, caring for the environment and nature, promoting the values of tolerance and inclusion, thus contributing to creating a more inclusive and united society. His Majesty King Charles noted that this cooperation will continue to transform shared ideas and visions into achievements on the ground. His Majesty King Charles expressed his great appreciation for His Majesty's continued support for the British Armed Forces, noting that it has been 10 years since the Kingdom of Bahrain was announced as host to the Royal Navy Support Facility. His Majesty emphasized the importance of this facility, which he was pleased to inaugurate during his visit to Bahrain 8 years ago, in maintaining stability in the region, even under the most challenging circumstances. His Majesty King Charles concluded his speech by noting the depth of the centuries-old friendship and alliance between the two kingdoms, emphasizing that the current global challenges make the shared vision between the two countries more important and urgent than ever, which reinforces the strength of the strategic relations and partnership between Bahrain and the United Kingdom. His Majesty the King and His Majesty King Charles III then exchanged friendly talks on the close historical relations between the two royal families and the two friendly countries, in addition to the close and firm bilateral relations between the Kingdom of Bahrain and the United Kingdom, and the continuous development and prosperity of these long-standing and distinguished relations in all fields to achieve prosperity and all that is good for the two friendly peoples. The dinner banquet was attended by His Majesty the King's accompanying delegation.
And now to shed light on His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa's meeting with His Majesty King Charles, we had this stand with our correspondent from London.
The visit of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa to the United Kingdom and his meeting with His Majesty King Charles III of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and head of the Commonwealth affirmed the long history of friendship and close ties between the two countries that are based on mutual respect and understanding regarding many regional and international issues of common concern. Their Majesties discussed a number of issues of common concern on the regional and international levels and affirmed their keenness to exert their utmost efforts to maintain regional and international security, stability, and peace. The relations between the Kingdom of Bahrain and the United Kingdom continue to witness remarkable development in all fields, thanks to the support of His Majesty the King and His Majesty King Charles III. The distinguished bilateral relations have developed through continuous meetings and mutual visits between the leaders of the two countries. Bahrain-UK relations are moving forward in achieving the aspirations of the leaders of both countries in maintaining communication and consolidating cooperation at all levels to achieve common interest and benefit the two countries and their peoples. From the United Kingdom, reporting for Bahrain International, I am Mohammed Yusuf. Bahrain-UK relations receive continuous support from His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and His Majesty King Charles III of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and head of the Commonwealth, to continue to bolster them at all levels, as the historical relations between the two friendly countries contribute to achieving the desired goals at all levels. During His Majesty the King's meeting with His Majesty King Charles III, aspects of bilateral relations and ways to further enhance the cooperation between the two kingdoms were discussed. Their Majesties also discussed the current regional and international developments, especially the situation in the Middle East, and emphasized the keenness to continue the efforts to consolidate and maintain security, stability, and peace. The distinguished bilateral relations are based on solid foundations of cooperation and coordination in various fields, which have been translated into the signing of many agreements and MOUs with the aim of raising the level of partnership and coordination in all fields. Over the past years, Bahrain-UK relations have developed and grown, and their ties have been strengthened in a distinguished manner, not only on the official level, but also in a broader level through the continuing bonds of friendship and rapprochement between the two royal families, which has contributed to enhancing understanding and coordination between the two countries' leaderships, as well as the common bilateral, regional, and international interests, the diplomatic relations, and the beneficial mutual visits. The visit of His Majesty the King to the United Kingdom and his meeting with His Majesty King Charles III affirms the strength of relations between the two friendly kingdoms and the level of cooperation witnessed in all fields. The Kingdom of Bahrain and the United Kingdom enjoy close historical ties that are based on mutual respect, understanding, and common interest regarding regional and international issues. From the United Kingdom, reporting for Bahrain International, I am Mohammed Yusuf.
And we're now joined by political analyst David Powell from London, who gave us this statement on His Majesty the King's visit to the UK and the growth of the kingdom's bilateral relations.
The visit by King Hamad to the UK comes at the personal invitation of King Charles and marks King Hamad's 25 years on the throne. And the personal warmth between the two kings was clear when Charles welcomed his guest at Windsor Castle with a big hug. But the strong and deep ties between the two countries in diplomacy, trade, defence, and in cultural exchange go back many, many years. The UK is one of Bahrain's largest trading partners. Many British companies operate in Bahrain in banking, oil and gas and construction, and of course there's a long-standing defence relationship. The UK has a naval base there which helps ensure maritime security in the Gulf, and there are regular exchanges between the two countries' leaders and politicians. The Crown Prince Salman bin Hamad visited the UK and met the previous Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, and both men talked of the importance of the strategic partnership then. And after the change of government in the UK, with a new Labour government, the Crown Prince again visited the UK to meet the new Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, the first Gulf leader to do so after the UK election. And again, both sides stressed the importance of the relationship and what they call the strategic partnership between the UK and Bahrain. Just over a year ago, the UK-Bahrain strategic dialogue got underway with a meeting in London, and this covers security in cooperation in security, in defence cooperation, in mutual trade and investment, and also in human rights. It's clear that the relationship between UK and Bahrain is an important relationship to both sides. The British Prime Minister Keir Starmer wrote to King Hamad in September, saying that his government wanted to maintain this strategic partnership, as he called it. And the British Foreign Secretary David Lammy visited Bahrain only last month and talked of his desire to build upon the deep-rooted partnership between the two countries in defence, trade and security. And after that visit, the UK ambassador to Bahrain said publicly that the meetings that Lammy had with King Hamad and Crown Prince Salman and other ministers showed a real shared vision between the two countries on issues of peace and security and economic cooperation. So it's clear that the UK and Bahrain are determined to enhance their cooperation, to work on regional problems. Both sides are keen to maintain this deep relationship in defence, trade and cultural issues through the framework of the UK-Bahrain strategic dialogue for the benefit of the region as well as the two countries themselves.
The reciprocal visits between the Kingdom of Bahrain and the UK have always yielded positive results, which contribute to the prosperity and growth of bilateral relations for the benefit of the two friendly countries and peoples. We have more in this report.
Strong pillars have strengthened expectations for a more distinguished future for Bahraini-British relations based on the respect and appreciation that unites the two friendly countries, their long history of positive cooperation, their convergent positions, visions and joint coordination in many international situations, as well as their strong belief that cooperation and peace is the best way for humanity to embark on progress and development. For more than 2 centuries, Bahraini-British relations have developed and grown politically, economically and militarily, and became a role model for relations between countries thanks to the unlimited support of the leaderships of the two friendly countries. In July 2023, the visit of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister to the United Kingdom resulted in success and the signing of the Investment Partnership and Strategic Cooperation Agreement between Bahrain and the UK, which aims to facilitate additional investments of more than £1 billion in the United Kingdom, support the diversification of Bahrain's economy and enhance cooperation between the two countries in the fields of clean technology, business services and manufacturing. To further develop the strategic partnership, the first high-level strategic dialogue between the two kingdoms was held in October 2023 amid efforts made by the joint working groups emanating from the Specialized Ministerial Committee to expand cooperation in terms of multilateral cooperation and the latest developments on security cooperation as well as human rights. A remarkable development and growth increased bilateral partnership and was translated into the signing of many agreements, cooperation protocols and memorandums of understanding which reflect the deep-rooted relations between the two kingdoms.
Deputy King, His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, met with the chairman of the Board of Directors of our Capita Group, Abdulaziz Hamad Al Jumaih, and its CEO, Atif Abdul Malik at Gudaibiya Palace. His Royal Highness highlighted the significant role of financial and banking institutions in attracting investments that bolster Bahrain's regional and international competitiveness, supporting its comprehensive development goals under the leadership of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. His Royal Highness emphasized the importance of strengthening Bahrain's financial and banking sector, noting its contributions to Bahrain's economic development and its role in creating promising opportunities for citizens. He also noted the importance of diversifying Bahrain's economic base by supporting initiatives that drive economic growth through innovation, as well as integrating artificial intelligence and modern technologies in line with international best practices. His Royal Highness reaffirmed Bahrain's commitment to fostering a competitive environment that promotes the growth and stability of financial and banking institutions, thereby positively impacting the national economy. During the meeting, the latest regional and international developments in the financial and banking sectors were discussed. And for his part, the chairman of the and CEO of our Capita expressed gratitude and appreciation for His Royal Highness' dedication to developing Bahrain's financial and banking sector and emphasized the ongoing efforts to achieve the kingdom's strategic goals. The Minister of Cabinet Affairs, Hamad bin Faisal Malki, also attended this meeting. After an official visit to Bahrain, during which he met with His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, the Prime Minister of Montenegro, Moliko Spajic, left Bahrain yesterday. The advisor to His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Prime Minister, His Highness Sheikh Ali bin Khalifa Al Khalifa, was at the forefront to bid the Prime Minister farewell. Also present were the Minister of Industry and Commerce, Abdullah Fakhru, and Governor of Muharraq, Salman bin Isa bin Hindi Al Mannai. The Representatives Council Speaker and Chairman of the Executive Committee of the Parliamentary Division in Bahrain, Ahmed Al-Musallam, headed Bahrain's delegation in the 18th regular meeting of the leaders of the Shura Representatives, National and Ummah Councils of the GCC in the UAE. Al-Musallam affirmed the support of His Majesty the King of joint work of the GCC Legislative Councils, noting Bahrain's commitment to strengthen the strategic partnership with the international community to consolidate the values and principles of peace, justice, peaceful coexistence, tolerance and pluralism. Al-Musallam explained that at Bahrain, under the leadership of His Majesty the King and the support and follow-up of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Prime Minister, Bahrain believes that peace is the best strategic option to resolve conflicts and disputes through dialogue and political settlements, respect of the principles of good neighborliness and sovereignty of states, and non-interference in internal affairs. He expressed aspiration to support and adopt the initiative of His Majesty the King, which was approved by the Arab Summit last May, regarding the call to hold an urgent meeting and an international peace conference in the Middle East. The Speaker of the Council of Representatives, Ahmed Al-Musallam, affirmed that Bahrain's unwavering commitment to the Palestinian cause and the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people is strongly reflected in the lofty royal vision and wise directives of His Majesty the King, along with the support of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Prime Minister. He said that this support underscores Bahrain's dedication to further advancing Middle East peace efforts and establishing a just and comprehensive peace in the region. He hailed the speech of Bahrain, which addressed the urgent need to end the prolonged conflict in Gaza and its extension to Lebanon. The chairman of the Shura Council, Ali bin Saleh Al Saleh, praised the kingdom's speech at the extraordinary Joint Arab-Islamic Summit in Riyadh, delivered by the Deputy Prime Minister on behalf of His Majesty the King. Al Saleh emphasized that the speech reflected Bahrain's firm approach in further supporting international peace efforts in the Middle East. He noted that Bahrain's address provided effective parameters for achieving peace and promoting regional stability. That's in line with His Majesty the King's vision. The Kingdom of Bahrain made a significant contribution during its participation in the extraordinary Joint Arab-Islamic Summit held in Riyadh by demonstrating support for Arab and Islamic issues, advocating for peaceful solutions to regional challenges. And we have more in this report.
The Kingdom of Bahrain, under the leadership of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and with the support of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, has always been keen to be present in roles that call for the achievement of peace and stability. For this reason, Bahrain played an important role in the Arab-Islamic Summit held in Riyadh to discuss topics of concern to the Arab and Islamic worlds. During this significant gathering, Bahrain reaffirmed its unwavering support for Arab and Islamic unity and joint action to achieve regional stability and peace. The Kingdom emphasized its commitment to addressing security challenges and terrorist threats that endanger the stability of countries in the region. Bahrain also underscored unwavering support for Arab and Islamic causes, mainly the Palestinian cause.
إن مملكة البحرين كانت ولا تزال تدعو إلى تحقيق سلام عادل ودائم في الشرق الأوسط، ونحن ملتزمون بحل القضية الفلسطينية باعتبارها ضرورة ملحة لحفظ حقوق جميع شعوب المنطقة في التعايش في أمن ووئام.
The Kingdom advocated for the pursuit of just and lasting peaceful solution to regional conflicts, aligning with the summit's objectives of promoting cooperation and addressing pressing challenges facing the Arab and Islamic world. Bahrain remains committed to resolving the Palestinian cause, recognizing it as of critical importance for ensuring the right of all peoples in the region to coexist in security and harmony. The Kingdom's participation in the summit emphasizes its firm stance in support of these just causes for the Arab and Islamic peoples and its interest in establishing peace in the region.
The Minister of Housing and Urban Planning, Amna Al-Rumaihi, participated in the opening of the second edition of Riyadh's Cityscape Conference and Exhibition. And Rumaihi highlighted the ministry's commitment to participating in major real estate and housing events to strengthen cooperation and exchange successful housing initiatives. She said that a primary objective for GCC countries at these conferences is presenting policies that integrate the private sector into housing services delivery for citizens. She said Bahrain's participation in Cityscape Riyadh underscores opportunities to collaborate on projects within the Government Land Development Rights Programme. The first Deputy Speaker of the Council, Abdel Nabi Salman, headed the Council's weekly session. The Council approved a draft law on dispute resolution mediation and a draft law on social security. The Council also approved 5 draft law proposals on the establishment of a health centre in the 7th constituency, free transportation services for the elderly by the Ministry of Health during appointment times, and not calculating allowances and benefits in the total monthly income of the head of the household when accepting housing applications. Under the title Air Power in Comprehensive Warfare, the Bahrain Defence Force, represented by the Royal Bahrain Air Force, held its 5th edition of the Manama Air Power Symposium. Air Force commanders and senior experts from around the region and the world participated in the symposium, which was held as part of the Bahrain International Air Show 2024. The symposium discussed the most important topics related to air power and how to enhance its effectiveness in wars. The CEO of SEGMA delivered a welcoming speech at the beginning of the seminar, followed by Major General Pilot Sheikh Hamad bin Abdullah Al Khalifa, Commander of the Royal Bahrain Air Force, who conveyed the greetings of His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, Deputy Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces and Prime Minister, Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, and the Commander-in-Chief of the BDF, Field Marshal Sheikh Khalifa bin Hamad Al Khalifa. The commander emphasized the importance of supporting countries struggling with militia presence on their territories. He stressed the need to assist these nations in dismantling extremist groups and disrupting their supply lines. The commander also highlighted the significance of bolstering the defense capabilities of targeted countries to protect them against attacks that jeopardize regional security and stability. He said that ongoing changes necessitate updates to defense and deterrence strategies. He highlighted the need to evolve combat methods to ensure civilian safety while adhering to international law and humanitarian principles. The Vice President of Program Management of Lockheed Martin, retired General Gary North, moderated the first session, which included a number of themes where the commander of the U.S. Air Force Central Command, General Derek France, spoke in the first theme, which was joint operations between manned and unmanned aircraft means to maximize impact. Since its establishment, Bahrain's aviation sector has been characterized by expertise, sophistication and professionalism, which is a result of the development and the qualitative leaps it has achieved thanks to the continuous support of leaders and officials. We have more in this report.
The Kingdom of Bahrain's history in the field of civil aviation spans many years, and since the beginning of the last century, the Kingdom witnessed important milestones that confirmed the Kingdom's leadership in the field of aviation in the Gulf region in particular, and the Arab region in general. Today, Bahrain International Airport is considered one of the best airports in the region for linking East and West and for its state-of-the-art facilities and modern technology that ensure the security and safety of aircrafts and the comfort and well-being of travelers. 1918 was a historic day in the field of aviation in Bahrain as the first long-distance flight, a Royal Air Force reconnaissance flight from London en route to Calcutta, India, landed, followed by the arrival of the first flight of Imperial Airways Limited in 1927. The Kingdom of Bahrain was the first Gulf country to establish a seaport in 1937, known at the time as Bahrain Maritime Airport, and operated seaplane services under the management of Imperial Airways Limited. In 1962, the late Sheikh Isa bin Salman Al Khalifa inaugurated the new airport building, which he had laid the foundation stone earlier. In 1963, Gulf Air, formerly known as Gulf Aviation, began its services, taking the Kingdom of Bahrain's aviation industry to an advanced stage at the time. Bahrain Airport soon became a strategic hub for many airlines and became an important economic and cultural meeting point that formed a prestigious reputation for the Kingdom in this field as it was continuously developing, which affected various aviation facilities through the expansion of projects and opening advanced buildings and facilities until the Kingdom witnessed the latest important event, the opening of the new passenger terminal in 2021 in the presence and under the patronage of His Majesty the King.
Under the patronage of His Majesty the King and with the directives of His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Prime Minister and with the supervision and follow-up of the personal representative of His Majesty the King, Chairman of the Supreme Organizing Committee of the Bahrain International Air Show, His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Hamad Al Khalifa, the Bahrain International Show 2024 will kick off tomorrow in its 7th edition. and will be held from November 13th to 15th. The exhibition will witness a remarkable presence at regional and international levels through the participation of 223 civil and military delegations representing more than 56 countries and 60 regional and international companies, and the presence of 12 international companies specialized in airport ground handling services for the first time from the EU, Asia and the US. The exhibition will showcase an integrated program for visiting civil and military delegations, connecting them with companies and decision makers. It will also feature forums with an elite group of speakers from both public and private sectors, highlighting Bahrain's commitment to strengthening its aviation industry position.